Welcome to the ComicBase Livestream. I am your host, Pete Bickford, and for the next hour or so, we have a lot of news to get through. So I hope we get through it, and also I want to answer as many of your questions as I can. This is kind of a Q&A and also a tech tips show, so please put your questions into the chat. Put them to @ComicBase TV. That very much helps me see them as they go by and know that it's something for me to comment on. If I know the answer, I will certainly try. But anyway, yeah, so thanks everyone for joining us here. It's a big show. We're going to be talking about ComicBase 26.0.3. You say, wait, didn't ComicBase 26 just come out like 2 weeks ago? And yes, it did. And we're already adding lots of cool new stuff to it. Matter of fact, we're adding cool new stuff to the cool new stuff we talked about last week. So that's how busy we are. But also a lot of other things going on behind the scenes. We'll try to clue you in on as many of those as we can. I want to say before we get going on here, I'll say thank you to everyone joining us, and also to our mod Greg Tack, who's keeping things running smoothly around here, at least as smoothly as they ever can. Department of Comics first in the house here from beautiful Northeast Florida at 80 degrees. Lovely. Looks like we're finally getting fall around the country. So I hope everyone's enjoying the weather. It's, got to take these beautiful fall days while you can before things get ugly. And winter, joins us. So anyway, Mike Beebs joining us here from the Pacific Northwest. Crystal clear blue skies. Monster Cool 60. Excellent. Rob Weinberg from out of Toledo, Ohio, also having a lovely day out there. Let's see here. Yes. Greg says, I just heard Pete pop the tab on a cold one. Beer, soda? Yeah, no, sorry to let you guys down. And I realized before the show, typically I'll start with the microphone turned down and the macro that starts the show off will actually turn on the microphone. But yes, this was me actually just getting out of Diet Orange Crush. Sorry, the beers are saved for after the show, guys. And we are looking towards doing this at some point. We are probably gearing up to do another ComicBase After Dark at some point now that we're getting out of the crush of release, season here. We'll talk a little bit about that later on, but that would be the time to actually crack the cold ones for real. But anyway, let's see here. Different weather reporty type things. Steve Herring joining us from North Carolina. Hey, welcome. Thomas B. from Northern Virginia. And hey, I'm glad everyone could make it. All right, so let's start talking about some big things. So I wrote a number of notes to myself, and I'll hit them. First of all, scanners. Not something I'd meant to talk about, but it's something that we got a note from the production folks. It says we need to talk about this. We are down to our last 5 wireless scanners that we have in stock right now. Now, we know how to get more of them, but as you guys might have guessed, we don't know the price of the more of them at this point because tariffs and stuff. By the way, if you are a US-based barcode manufacturer, as far as I know, there literally are none. We spent over a year trying to source one. But if anyone ever wants to bring barcode manufacturing and make barcode manufacturing great again back in America, talk to us. We would love to be your customer. But in the meantime, we need to get them from where they make good ones. And having tried out, well over 24 barcodes, scanners before we finally settled on the manufacturer we went for ours. It is time for us to go back for resupply, and it's going to be pricey. So when you guys are looking for things, we do not anticipate discounting the scanners at any point. Matter of fact, we sort of like everyone else anticipate that the price will be going up significantly. We just don't know how much it is right now. So if you're looking to get a wireless scanner, I'm just telling you, if you're cool enough to be watching the show, this is your heads up. There are literally 5 of them left of the wireless. They're still $120, same price on those ones. More will be coming, but again, price unknown. We have more. We're a little bit better situation for the wired scanners. I believe those are $95 each. So if you want one with a stand and that's a cord and everything, those ones we're in a little bit better shape on those. But the wireless ones, if you're looking to grab one, grab it now. So that's just your heads up for being there. And Steve Herring says, I love my ComicBase barcode wireless scanner. Makes adding barcodes books so much easier. Abso-freaking-lutely. And I use it pretty much daily. Oh, hey, come on, focus. You can do it. All right. I don't know what I did to annoy my camera just now, but it decided it needed to soft focus me. So, but yeah, so yeah, this little baby right here, it's very cool because I mean you can use it for not just adding books into ComicBase and everything else, but I even use it for like when we're doing shipments and everything to like scan the barcode labels and put the tracking numbers and stuff like that. It's just a damned handy little sucker, and it runs really long time on a single charge. And so anyway, dig it. But yeah, if you're looking for the wireless in particular, don't hold off. I'm telling you now, as the head of the company, they're not going on sale further than they are, and the sale price is, if we even get back to what the normal price is in the future, that I will consider myself happy. But times are unknown. So well, let's see here. Greg Heck says, I have a couple of old scanners. I wonder if we should have a used scanner marketplace on the ComicBase message boards. I don't know. It could be, but certainly welcome to try that. All right, so other things going on. ComicBase 26.0.3. Whatever happened to 26.0.1, which we were talking about yesterday, which literally 5 minutes before the end of the show, I was talking about like, oh hey, we just added this new feature, which I literally haven't had a chance to run even once, so I'm not going to demo it now. But yes, we're at 0.0.3. When you see the magic of the 0.0 point whatever number, so 26 obviously kind of 2026, it is, as luck would have it, it matches with, it's the 26th major version of ComicBase, also very nice. But that's the major release number, so that's Metropolis is always going to be version 26. The digit after that, the 0.0, at some point there will be a 0.1. That'll be our big quarterly roll up. When you see the number after that, we call that one just the release number, but that's when we had enough stuff where like we felt like, yeah, we need to make this an official release and get it out there, because if you had the version before that, you might run into some trouble, or you might be missing something very important that we feel like, we would be answering tech support on. So I apologize. It's always a perfect release cycle if you get to 26.0.0 and you're able to sit there until you're ready for the big quarterly release. That has happened to us, I believe, twice in all of ComicBase history. Our basic rule is, if we find out that there's something that's causing any amount of grief or tech support or questions or whatever else to any significant amount of our customer base, we get the release out there right away. And if it's the sort of thing that's it's generating calls at all, or that might generate calls, we make it an official release. But beyond that, we try not to hassle you with every little futzy thing that we do, because we're futzing with the program constantly in terms of trying to make this or that just a little bit better, add this little minor feature, things like that. We typically will roll those out into what's called the interim builds. So if you want to get those, that's the number you see at the very end of the build number. Like, the current build right now is 26.0.3.1983. A great year, by the way. But anyway, graduate high school for what's worth. But anyway, that one is just literally every time we touch code, that number goes up by one. And so if you want to see every little thing that we've done and put out in the world, that one, if you go into your preferences in ComicBase and say that you want to check for updates, and also if you check the box that says include interim releases, then you'll see all the interim builds right there. But there is a big enough change that we put out there just this morning that we felt everyone should have it, and we want to go through some of that. So a couple of things. First of all, the bugs that we cleared up, the ones that were like we better fix this. 7-zip, which is a compression utility we use for different things, that one got put out in. There were certain configurations of ComicBase you could have where it would look for it in one place, and it was installed in a different place for historical reasons and so forth. So that got synced up, and so anyone who had that trouble where it's like, hey, 7-zip is in the wrong place, that is now handled. So if you download the current version, that will be gone. We have a better handling of older databases. So if you're coming in, if you didn't have last version of ComicBase, maybe it's 2 or 3 editions old. But if you're coming in for quite an older database, we handle that initial load up of the old data much better beforehand, because of some new checking. We could have thrown some errors at you, and so that's all resolved now. And also, just recently, we made some fixes to Sidekick, particularly when you're working with multiple databases running at the same time. So some people use Sidekick to manage, like, this is my collection, this is the collection of things I want to sell, and this is the collection I'm managing for a friend. And they'll say things like, hey, I want you now to perform all the operations or run all the updates on all 3 databases at once. And that was something that we were finding was getting us into a bit of trouble. We went through a lot of retooling lately to make that so that works quite a bit better. So if you've been having trouble with that, please give it a shot and let us know what you think. But it's running quite a bit better on that now. So if that's been a problem for you, that's great. If it hasn't been if none of these have been problems for you, great, that's terrific. But in the meantime, there's still some great stuff that you'll want to know about because we added on there. All right, so let's see here. All right, so let's actually go over to the demo machine, which I have booted up for once, and it is running the current version of ComicBase. So let me switch the mouse over there so I can control it. But we did a number of kind of neat things. So let's start with I don't know. Let's just do a search for something or other. Let's go to and this is the part where I draw blanks on every single comic book known to man. Let's just go to Amazing Spider-Girl. Sure, let's do Spider-Girl. We're always beating Spider-Man to death. We'll let the gals have a try at it for once. All right, I'm just going to go to just any issue of this right now, and I'm going to go ahead and do a search that might have lots and lots of things on it. So for instance, if I click on Ron Friends right here, it says, hey, do you want to search for Ron Friends? In which case it's going to search for all artist stuff that Ron Friends has ever done. This is an old feature in ComicBase. This is not what's new. I'm just literally kicking this off just so I can get a big search involving lots of things from all over the place. And of course, I chose a very big search from all over the place, and it's taking a moment. So let me vamp on this for a second, and let me also get myself on camera here so I can jabber over the top of it. Yep. And now apparently I need to switch where I am in frame. Nope, other way. There we go. Okay. All right. So here we are. Yes. 1,262 books found by Ron Friends. I had no bloody idea. Okay. Including Four Fantásticos, Los Four Fantásticos, A Next, you name it, etc. Okay. So Ron's been a busy guy. I chose well. All right. So a couple of things. We're used to this list coming up and being able to do different things from it. You can highlight, different things. You can change their quantities right from here. You can, make quick reports. You can do all the things and so forth. Something you have not been able to do until recently in all these lists is, so let's say, for instance, I don't know how many of you guys know about this, but for instance, if you go up here and right click on any old title in ComicBase, you can do this, in a search, but you can also do it anywhere in the program. If you right-click on the title right at the top there, it'll give you a set of options. For instance, you can look up that thing on Atomic Avenue. You can Google for whatever the internet knows about it. You can go over to the Grand Comic Database. You also can do things like, hey, I need title dividers for Amazing Spider-Girl. I just happen to notice that I don't have the divider for it. So I can either go through the print thing and search around and find Amazing Spider-Girl, or if I'm right on it, I can just print the title dividers right from here. But now also, you can also print issue checklists, print price lists, do a quick report, whatever you want, right from this right-click menu. And the cool part is, you can do this from a search. And so let's say your search encompasses lots of different titles. Like here's Defenders Volume 2. And as soon as you click any ones, you notice it updates and shows you the issue. But now if I right click on this one, instead of showing the original title, because beforehand it would only let you report on whatever title you want before you did the search, now you can actually do all these reports right from whatever one you happen to be looking at. And it winds up being just tremendously useful in stupid little ways. And for me, where it comes up is just I'm indexing books. I've just added a bunch of things and I realized, darn, I need to print a title divider for that thing. I forgot to have it done or whatever else. Or, hey, I'm trying to fill this in. Let me print an issue checklist or something. Very, very handy. You can do stuff right from here. So that's right from clicking on the name right over here. You also can kick off these things if you right click in the report right in here. If you click on any individual issue over here, you can you can either work with it, you can download covers, you can do all the stuff. But again, down at the bottom here, you can print ID labels for any individual list on the thing, divider labels, reports, etc. So yeah, neat stuff, and you can do it all from the list now. So that's just a cool thing. Is someone suggested it for us? It was like, as soon as it was suggested, it was blindingly obvious that this was a great idea, and so we just implemented it. So that's a thing that happened. Other things that have happened. So we talked a bit about last time out about Let's go to, actually, let me go ahead and go to Defenders Volume 4. Let's see, go to that's Volume 2. Okay, well, let's go to Defenders Volume 2. Fine. All right, so I just went to a particular issue on this guy. And let's say, fine, go here. By the way, this only applies, what I'm about to show you. If you go to Setup, go to Preferences, very important, and make sure that you check this box to hit Use Smart Fill in Grid. Now, when you do this, that turns on the Smart Fill feature we talked about last time out. And what it does is, if I ever have issues in here, and let me go ahead, I just took a wild guess at this one that would have a bunch of stuff not filled in yet, but unfortunately, they've actually done what I was about to demo already. So, I'm gonna do this a different way. Let me go to a different title. Maybe it's got even more variants in it because it'll make for a better demo. So basically anything recent. Okay, so here's Defender's 5th series, right? All right, and okay, so all right, so let's say I pull this thing up and I find out that the storyline for this issue, let's say I'm looking at 1B here. It'll be a cooler demo, and I figure I find out that the storyline is called Into the Unknown. Whoops, Into the Unknown. Oh, it turns out somebody already had a story called that. Now, when I hit Tab, what it's going to do here, I'm filling out the one because I'm staring at, in my imagination, I'm staring at issue 1B here. But because it knows that, well, okay, it's a storyline, I have Smart Fill turned on, and the storyline is not filled in for any of the variants of this guy right here. If I hit Tab on this, boom, all those versions of issue number 1, because if it's a variant, it's probably a variant cover. It's not a variant internal. And so all those things, if they were blank before, are likely to have exactly the thing that I just filled out. So if I go and fill out, and by the way, it works for any of these fields, cover dates, storyline writer, artist, colorist, not cover artist, not cover inker, because those things do tend to be different when you're going to different variants. Editors, appearances, okay, here's inkers, letterers, item titles, appearances. Like let's say I'd put appearances. This includes an appearance of the Hulk, Bruce Banner. Come on. I am so bad at typing. All right, this includes an appearance by Hulk Bruce Banter, right? And let's say it also includes Valkyrie. All right, so if I hit go there, and what it's going to do automatically, again, because it knows these are variants of the same book, it's going to fill those out across the entire thing. I got to say, we also added in, since last time out, this also applies to the number of pages, if you have that field showing, and the height and width of the physical book. So and the item title is another one that's new. So if for some reason this has a particular title where it's, we use this a lot of time when the cover title is dramatically different than what it says on the index of the book. So for instance, think about Classics Illustrated. You might be looking at Classics Illustrated number 1, but the cover says The Three Musketeers. So when people are looking for it, they will oftentimes will look for, The Three Musketeers, not knowing that's really just Classics Illustrated number 1. 4-Color Comics is infamous for this sort of thing, but also it winds up being incredibly handy for things like annuals, or not annuals, but collected books. So the collected book number, let's go down the bottom here. So if I were to look at book 1 of this one says Diamonds Are Forever. So I'm looking at this thing, it says Defenders Diamonds Are Forever, but it's listed in ComicBase as book 1 because it presumably, collects, issues 1 through 5 or something of the series. One way that you can make that quite a bit better is if you come up under here and say that the item title for this one is Diamonds Are Forever. Then when you do that one, if people search for this particular book, if you put in Diamonds Are Forever, you'll see that it gets listed not as its own title, but it says this is a named item in another series, and they'll say, oh, that's what book 1 of the Avengers volume 5th series was called. Same thing go for Kingpins of New York. That's a great example of this one. Now, if there had been multiple variants of these books or different different covers or different printings. If I had filled out one of these ones, all the other printings, all the other variants would have automatically gotten the same item title. So very cool stuff. I used this last week when I was filling out. We get the Penguin Random House books are now sent, unfortunately, to us out here in Franklin, Tennessee, which means they land in my desk, which I'm thrilled by. Anyway, but honestly, I was going through just the week's Marvel books, and there were 20 or so of them, and I gotta say it was actually kind of fun because these are all things where we had pre-indexed all these ones here, and we knew the issue was already essentially in there, but we didn't know the letter, we didn't know the colorist, we didn't know the storylines, we didn't know any of that stuff until we saw the physical book in front of us, because none of that was given to us as part of the solicitation that we get ahead of time. So that's what our editors are typically doing when they get the books out in San Jose. For all the other publishers other than Marvel, is they're going through and scanning the book and finding all what, double checking, first of all, the solicitation was actually correct, because a lot of times they'll solicit that one guy will be writing it and it turns out it's another guy, and so forth. But then they also find all that extra information, the editors, the inkers, and so forth. And when I was filling all that in, and again, you kind of go through the 20 books or so, and you fill in one book, and suddenly 10 other books magically fill in with the same information. Just, I gotta say, it was neat. So I dug that a lot. So that was kind of a cool thing. Some people have asked in the, let me see here. Sorry, while I've been jabbering on here, this chat's been going on. Let's see here. Oh yeah, some people say, I still have the Manhattan scanner. That was the original barcode scanner we finally sourced. Yeah, those are okay. The only thing I don't like about the Manhattan scanners, I mean, they do all the basics okay, but they don't scan Codabar, which is the more modern format that the ComicBase labels that we generate are printed in. The original Manhattan scanners just didn't support Codabar, so that's something where we do what we can with it. So they don't give us a full code of that, but we kind of interpret that, well, you probably meant to have a certain prefix on that, and so if you do try to scan it with the Manhattans, it will sort of work, but it won't work for things that aren't comics and so forth. But that being said, those scanners are 20 years old now, and they're still going like a champ, so that's kind of neat. One thing that's neat about scanners in general is, as far as your computer is concerned, this is a keyboard. So when you plug it in, there's no extra driver or anything like that to install. Your computer it considers it technically a human interface device, but for all practical purposes, your computer treats it just like a keyboard. It's just a keyboard that shines light instead of taps on keys, but it returns characters just like a keyboard would. So there's nothing extra to install when you do these things. The only installation when you get one of these ones is, if you don't have a barcode scanner on your hooked up yet, is literally there's like 5 special barcodes that are on a setup sheet that will configure the scanner, because there's special codes the barcodes firmware understands, which turn features on and off and set expected formats of things. But you just kind of go beep 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 beep, and you're ready to go. So yeah, they're kind of neat. But yeah, but like 20-year-old keyboards, they just keep chugging. Just keep going. All right, so let me see here. People comparing different generations of scanners. All right, Department of Comics says, if an issue doesn't have a picture, it doesn't allow going to the picture folder, even if there's one full of pictures. Can't ComicBase just create a folder as you view a title? I mean, we could, but I guess we're thinking that, well, there isn't a picture there to show you right now, so we didn't do it. We used to have a command in the program. I'm not sure if we still have it. This might be one of those things that kind of went away as vestigial when we went over to ComicBase 2020. But it used to be, if you right-click on there, you could create the picture folder, because back when picture folders were rare, you can right-click on the picture itself, and it would create the just the blank folder in the right place, so you could drag things in. I think these days we don't do it, because if you just drag a picture in onto the title, it creates the folder automatically, so you don't need a separate command to create the picture folder, really. But really, just if you want to create the picture folder, just take a picture and just literally drag it to the issue you want to go. It'll get dropped onto that issue. It'll have created the picture folder, and it'll also move your picture into the right place. So that's how I would treat it right now. But anyway, that's about it. Okay, other things that were in the chat while we're at it here. Okay, and some other people commented about exactly the same thing. Okay, I've got it. Okay. All right, so moving on about other things that are new in the world. So we talked last time about how, so I, just put yourself in my position last Friday. I've just entered in, 20 Marvel comic books there with all the stuff and say, that's neat. It just made like 80 different, changes to the database for everything, for all the new information. And now, if you're a really cool person, what you want to do is you want to submit that data to us. Why do you want to submit data to us? Why? What's it to? Why should you care? Right? I mean, it's a great question to ask, because fundamentally, look, your database is your data. It's your business. If you want to give it to us, really what you're doing is just kind of like contributing to the public good. It's you don't have to do it. No one's making you. The thing it does is, if you enter a brand new issue into the database, or you make a correction to an issue in the database, if you submit it to our editors, what they do is it gets to them in a format where it's very easy for them to review it, compare it to what's already in the database, decide whether you're right or you're wrong, and take the parts that they like or don't like, and then they give you a submission point, for every time that they actually take something you've gotten over there. But in particular, what it does is it makes it so that when people are downloading updates and things like that, if we got something wrong, we want to know. We don't want to just keep on feeding the wrong data out there. If somehow, something changed, or we mistyped something or whatever else, we want to fix our mistakes. I mean, there are several million pieces of information in the database. We're gonna mess some stuff up because we're human, but yeah, everything we want to make be as good as we can be on things. That's about stuff that's we said it was a 35-cent cover price. It turns out it's a 40-cent cover price. Again, we want to know when we're wrong, so we don't just keep on putting out the wrong data. The other thing is, if you submit data that's brand new to us, it's a comic book we've never seen before, a variant we've never encountered, whatever that is, if you submit it to us, what happens is it gets an official place in the database. And when that happens, a couple of wonderful things happen that benefit you directly. One is, if you say that this is the J variation of Defenders 5th Series #1 or something, we can look for bigger and better pictures of that exact same thing and put that out there. We can fill in extra data that you didn't know was out there. More importantly, it becomes something that's saleable on Atomic Avenue, and where we also can track the sales values. So when the thing sells out there, we might think, well, okay, initially we think this one's going for about $25, but after a while, if it becomes saleable, the market will tell you what it's really worth, because people will either buy it for 25, 28, 30, 40, 50, or they won't buy it, and someone will eventually sell one for 10, and then the price will shrink down. But that's information, for good or bad, you want to know. So anyway, if you do have data that is brand new, strongly encourage you. Again, you're not required to by any stretch of the imagination, but strongly encourage you to submit new or corrected data to us. And one thing we've done to make this much easier, and we do this especially if you're someone who's established a track record with us, as being a someone who submits high quality data, because let's face it, if you submit junk, we don't want it. So, but the way you would typically submit data to us is, let's say I'd made a change here that let's say I don't know, let's say I'm going to put an appearance here of, let's find a character. Okay, clearly I'm going to say Daredevil appears in this one right here. Now, again, not a high value piece of information, but we're just going to put it in there just for the sake of luck here. So we say Daredevil, and Iron Fist both appear on this one. Was it Daniel, Randy? Let's just say for the sake of argument, yes. All right, so when I take these guys right now, granted, note it just made corrections to 4 different issues right now, because these are all variants of the same thing. Well, the way I would typically submit this one is I would highlight one issue there, I would right click, and I'd jump down the bottom, and I would say submit, I would say submit new or corrected data. At which point you say, thank you very much for your help, and it'll get data reviewed, appear in the next update. Good, that's fine. And also, if I had a brand new picture of this one that was bigger than the version that was in ComicBase, so that's, we got a decent sized picture of this one already, but if I had one that was bigger, better, cooler, it would say, hey, would you mind submitting that one, letting us have that picture that you've got, because it looks very nice, and we would love to have it. If you say yes, and you don't need to say yes, but if you do say yes, then that gets sent up as well. And so if we can improve the pictures, that's always useful, especially for variants that we haven't seen. So anyway, that's the thing. But one thing you might have noticed is that this has the ability now, because I changed 4 different issues by typing in one field in the whole thing. I can make a lot of changes here, and if I don't go back and remember to highlight all those issues and say submit, then I'm the only guy who has the changes. Nobody else on the interwebs has them, and that's not, again, it's fine for you. It's not great for the world in general, and so forth. So I mean, again, it's if you make a change and it benefits people, you want to benefit everybody if possible. So I just noticed that, like for issue number 6 here, that they had left everyone except Tom Brevoort over off of the editor list. So I'm submitting that one while I'm at it. Well, anyway, we added a new feature in here. If you have 200 points of previous corrections that we've taken, you earn a badge called 4-Color Scholar. And you can see that on ComicBase.com. You'll get a big warning, well, not a warning, but an alert in the program. It kind of goes, ta-da, and it shows you off your new badge. But you also can look on your profile at ComicBase.com. You'll see that there's a badge called 4-Color Scholar. If you have that badge, you get a brand new function in the program. It's the first time we've ever done this, where for you, Mr. 4-Color Scholar, if you right-click on this thing, down at the bottom, you'll notice that you have a brand new option here. It says Submit All Corrections. And if you do that one, or if you hit Control-Alt-Shift-S, which I think I said on this one, it kind of reminds me of like a D chord on the guitar, but for reasons I can't quite explain to you, other than if you kind of see how you crook your hand, it kind of reminded me of it. But anyway, but for you, if you say submit all corrections, then what'll happen is it will offer you to say, instead of just submitting the one, is would you like to submit everything that you've changed in the database since the last time you submitted anything? So in other words, you want to submit all, and you can do it for all, everything entirely, or just comic books, etc. You can say ahead of time whether you want to automatically submit newer, larger pictures and so forth. And then when you hit go, it's basically going to go take in every single thing you've changed in the database, and send that in as a submission, and gives it to the editors all in once. And you don't need to remember everything, where everything was, just done and done. So anyway, we demoed this one as being an available feature last time out. I literally had baked it into the program like 5 minutes before showtime, and I had literally not had the chance to run it in test even once. So I wasn't going to show it off on the show as far as actually running it. So that being said, it has now been running. We've learned some important things. Like, for instance, we learned very important that when you download a content update, which has the effect of changing the date of last modification of thousands, maybe tens of thousands of items in your database, very important that you also reset people's date of last submission to be right after that content update, because otherwise when anyone uses submit all, they're going to be submitting back the entire content update as part of their submission. Not what we really wanted. So we learned that one within minutes of the first time this went live. So that's part of the program these days, but as well as a couple other refinements to the whole thing. But that's in there now. So Submit All is live. It does work, and it's pretty neat. Thing that we did as part of the 26.0.3 is we made also so that the Submit All is sensitive not just to the date that you last submitted, but also the time. So I think it was Steve Dazinger pointed out this morning that it's like, hey, I made some changes. I submitted them, but then I made some more changes this afternoon and submitted the original changes that I made earlier in the day again. And it's like, oh yeah, that's right. Date of last modification was just a date. It wasn't a date with a time, and so we weren't looking for exactly the right thing on that one. We made a change. It's part of the current update, and so now it literally is just going to show everything since the second that you last submitted changes, and it's pretty darn convenient. So I hope you dig it. Let's see here. Ed asks, hi Pete, is there an official format to use when submitting a cover artist update, i.e. regular cover by Adam Hughes, variant cover by Frank Cho? Wow, is that a hot topic of discussion on the editing forums? There is. It basically, and I'm going to get this slightly wrong because I'm going by memory, which is always a bad idea, but in order to at least talk to your question, I'll talk about, but then I need to give a more thorough answer later on in the forums probably. But basically it comes down to, it wants to be the adjective cover named what the version is by who the artist is. So, for instance, embossed foil cover, that'd be the adjective. C, if it's cover C, so because part of the reason that this will go into the item description field is, and let me go ahead and point to the item descriptions field so everyone can understand what the hell Bickford's talking about right now. So, you've noticed in this world of variants that we have going on right now that it's become quite challenging to figure out what the hell I've got in for just Defenders 5th series number 6. I've got a 6, a 6A, a 6B, a 6C, right? What makes something the A cover, the B cover, the C cover, and so forth. Now, granted, seeing the cover thumbnails helps quite a bit of getting that straight. But if you're not looking at the cover thumbnails, it's very important as much as possible to tell people why is this cover versus something else. So, for instance, we added this field called item description, which we've been filling out. It's not, especially for things that happened in 2017, it's not always filled out all as thoroughly as I would wish. For instance, I would prefer if number 6 here just said regular cover, by whoever did it. But for instance, this one right here, this is the Zdarsky, Chip Zdarsky, how to draw, Zdarsky, how to draw cover A by Chip Zdarsky. Okay, not full points on this one. I would just call it the how to draw cover A by Chip Zdarsky, but that's the basic format you want. Cover B by Szymon Kudranski. That's fine so far as it goes. Maybe the only thing you can say about it is it's the B cover. I would probably say something like this. This one appears to, for instance, to be a holographic cover because I'm seeing shadows. Looks like it's a lenticular thing because I'm seeing shadows of 2 different covers. One of which is a homage to Avengers. Avengers 6 is that, or Avengers 16? But it's not really that. So you can actually look up here. You can actually see that this partially says Defenders and partly says Avengers. So I'm almost certain this is a lenticular one. But I would say, if I were doing this one myself and submitting it, I would say lenticular hologram. Homage to Avengers 16, cover B by Szymon Kudranski, and then 6C, McCone Legacy Headshot, cover C by Mike McCone. Yeah, I mean, that's fine. The McCone part I think is kind of redundant in this case. Not loving that part, but if you say, Legacy Headshot cover by that guy. But yeah, the basic format is you want to have the adjective for the cover, which is, say, like Legacy Headshot cover. You want to name the cover variant. So if it's 6C, I want to see a C here. One thing that came up on the discussions is, what do you do when it's like the J cover is the B cover, but it's foil or something like that? It's like, and honestly, this is one that we're still arguing out right now. Opinions are differing on it. I personally am of the school that says I very much, if I'm looking at an item description for something that has a J in it, I want to know why this thing is the J cover. So it's interesting to me that it's a version of an earlier cover. So you might want to say foil cover version of cover B, but I want to see if this one's called cover J by whoever it's from. That is the general format I would go with on that one. That being said, let me try to get you an official word from the editors on that one and come back on that one. But that's the general rule of thumb on this one. But I'll try to get you the chapter and verse on that one next time we talk. But thanks for the question on that. That was a good question. All right. Let's see here. Okay, and I think that covers that one for now. All right, let's move on. All right, so we talked about submit all. Other things that are new in the world. So we talked about the new printing features. Other things that are different. We have support now for ISBN for the book geeks out in the audience, and there are some. We were called to task quite understandably by the idea that the ISBN fields in ComicBase were only supporting ISSNs and ISBN 10s. So if you are a code geek, and I love code geeks, I really do. I think it's fascinating that there's secret stuff in pretty much everything that looks like a random sequence of numbers. Rarely is, including things like ISBN codes. There's things like the first digit of an ISBN code will tell you like what country it was published in, for instance. And they have different code blocks that they assign based on how many books that country tends to put out. So for instance, they have space for tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of books for the US, Canada, and England codes, which start with like 1, I think it's 1, 2, and 9, something like that. But by the time you get to countries like Iran, they give them space for like 100,000 books to ever be published in that entire country's history. I think Afghanistan is in that block as well. Absolutely, I mean, on one hand, absolutely crazy, but also, are we really that surprised? So anyway, but the codes that were baked into ComicBase originally were they only supported the format ISBN 10. ISBN 10 by, I want to say, 2007 or so was starting to run out of room, and so they adopted a further version of the standard called ISBN 13, which, wait for it, has 13 digits, not just 10, where they reallocated where code spaces are given all things, and they also made official what some of the original prefixes were. So, for instance, sorry, my eyes is bugging me here. I apologize, guys. So, for instance, if you ever look at a ISBN code that starts with 978, you might know this is what's called a Bookland style barcode. And what it is it'll be 978 followed by the 10-digit ISBN 10 barcode, but then typically the 5 digits on the end, if you look at those, will be for some reason it's always a 5. I used to know why, but I've forgotten. But then the digits right after the 4 digits after that in the 5-digit block at the end would be the price in dollars and cents up to $99.99. In later graphic novels and omnibus editions, they've started actually using that as an extension to the format. They started using the first digit instead of just it always being 5. I think 5 is meant to indicate U.S. pricing, U.S. dollars. I think it's meant to be the currency code. But they started for like the later Marvel omnibuses using that one to indicate an actual price. So if you have like the latest Conan the Barbarian omnibus, so for instance, it'll say 15000 will be the 5 digits at the end there, which means the thing costs $150. But anyway, all sorts of stuff in there. We formerly only supported ISBN 10s. We now support the lot. We support Bookland style. We support ISBN 13s. We support ISBN 10s. We support ISNs, and we support a mutant format called ISSN 8, which is for it's for periodicals. It's the very old school format. You sometimes see these written in Wikipedia. It's back when you were just trying to give some kind of periodical number on the whole thing. But anyway, now the coding in ComicBase, if you write that into the ISBN field, will automatically code and decode the price if it's there to be gotten. It'll pull out the ISBN 10s if it's there to be gotten. It'll properly format and compute the check digits and the whole schmear. So anyway, that's a thing that happens, and if you care about codes, it's in there now. So congratulations to the code lovers. So anyway, no, it's one of those things where it's the right thing to have done. So I'm happy to have done it. All right. So in terms of that, let me see here. Let me see. Ed says the second last digit of the UPC determines cover A, B, C, etc. Right. That is correct. So back to secret stuff in barcodes. Let's pull up a barcode here and stare at it for a second. All right. And let me pull up the magnifier if I can, so we can zoom in. All right, so switching over to the demo machine. So here's Defenders. This is 5A. All right, so if we look at this guy real closely, so we have 7, 59606. At this point, you guys should know that is Marvel Comics. That is the publisher code for Marvel Comics. This is series number 8667 of theirs. That these 5 digits are just for them to determine what series they want. And so they decide this is Defenders Volume 5 was series 8667. And that might be true. It might not. We've seen them use and abuse this in a number of different ways, but that's how they code it. These last 5 digits over here, the 2 is a check digit. But these last 5, the first 3 are supposed to be the issue number. Indeed, that is 005. This is issue 5. The digit after that is typically the variation. So 1, it means it's the regular edition. This is 2, which means it's it's the first variant edition, which that jives because this is what we call the A cover. And the 1 at the end here is that this is the one at the end there is that this is the first printing. So that's how this stuff is all meant to work, and it often does work that way. Oh, you've got to be joking! You guys remember the show last time where it wanted to restart right in the middle, and it wants to restart again. I'm saying not now, so we'll see if it pays attention this time. But anyway, but yeah, so that's a typical barcode over here with this is UPC or EIN 13 plus 5 format is what this would be called for the barcode format. If you look at let's see if yeah, see, books tend to have the barcodes on the back, so I don't have a quick picture right now of an ISBN 13 barcode. Sorry about that, but if you pick the book up that's closest at hand to you, stare at the back cover at it. What you'll typically notice is that if the first 3 digits are 978, sometimes 979, because they ran out of 978s, that the digits that follow will exactly match the ISBN number, followed by the price in US dollars. US if the first digit is a 5 on that last group of 5. So anyway, that's Bookland style type stuff. The cool part though is if you were to take that and scan it into ComicBase. So if you would just put that in and you say you were entering a brand new book, just right off your bookshelf, and you just instead of filling out all the other fields, if you jump straight down to the ISBN field or the UPC field and you scan that in, it can actually automatically populate the price and a bunch of other things just from that Bookland style code, just by even if we've never seen it before, because there's some information built into the code and we know how to pull it out. All right, so other question here. Jet City is joining us here. Welcome to the party. Had to wash your car and put it away for the winter. Wow, that's nice. You have a garage. I'm jealous. I have comics in my garage. I dream pretty much weekly about building a new structure just so I can park my car inside. But anyway, it is neither here nor there. All right, and someone also pointed out that yes, the whole scheme for encoding the variation number falls apart when there's 1,000 variants. Absolutely, it's at that point you'll realize whatever the official idea for how the supplemental should get used gets thrown right out the window when you start having 100 variants, or for that matter, when you start having more than 10. So at that point, they start abusing it, and they use whatever the hell code that they can put in there because they just got to put something. All right, so it says, I'm not sure if I heard correctly, is the second last digit of the UPC is a 2? Wouldn't that be over, not cover A? It depends on whether there was a regular cover. It means it's the first variant, right? So, I mean, if we knew that there was going to be a cover A, cover B, cover C, cover D, then yeah, that would be cover B. But once upon a time, we used to have these things in the comic field. It was great. I mean, but you got to realize it's a different world, so you cast your mind to a different world there. But there used to be the idea that there was a regular cover. So variants were rare, and so if you had a cover that wasn't one, so I mean, when you didn't just assume that everything was going to come with 15 covers, then you would have a regular number 6. Then if there was ever a variant, that'd be 6A, and so that's where if the regular number 6 would get the 1 for the second to last digit of the barcode. These days, when we assume everything's got A, B, C, D, E, F, G, whatever cover, then typically that's it doesn't get used that way. Although ironically, Marvel in their solicitations, I've noticed for Penguin Random House, explicitly will say that this cover here is the regular cover. The one that we would otherwise call A they will actually say regular cover, and so that one gets put in is the whole number, and so then the first variant becomes which one, the one that has a 2 in that second last digit of the supplemental. That then becomes their A cover because Marvel said so, and who are we to argue with them? All right. So anyway, let's move on. All right. So. All right, other things that I wanted to talk about. So some tech tips. First one came up, and this is just stuff that would be good to know. So I figured I will tell people just so you know. Some people will go and you'll look at your registrations, and let's see, good idea or bad idea to show my registrations? Oh, sure, let's show my registrations. No, let's actually, that's not. Because there's serial numbers, and even though honestly, you're going to have a really hard time using the program if it's not registered under your account. Why chance fate? Anyway, but if you look under my account and then registrations at ComicBase.com, it is not unusual for you to discover that you've got more than one version of things with the exact same expiration date. And that still causes confusion, especially I got question this morning from a guy said, well, I've got all these things here. I've got 2023 that expired on such and such a date. I've got an archive 2024 that expired on the same date. And I've got my ComicBase 2025 that just expired. First of all, am I expired or am I current? Do I need to buy anything? And why are these things on the same date? Yes, if all your things are showing in red and the latest one does not have an expiration that's greater than the current date, then yes, your subscription has expired and it's time to renew. The reason you would have things in your past that have the same date as each other for the expiration, where that typically would come along, and for this gentleman, the way it happened is he had a ComicBase 2023 and it was still in effect. His subscription had not expired yet when ComicBase 2024 was released. So when that happens, you automatically get issued a ComicBase, whatever the current version is. So a lot of you guys just got ComicBase 2026 serial numbers that just magically appeared in your account. And you'll notice, though, that they didn't give you another year because you didn't buy a year. You're still on your old subscription, but you got a brand new serial number so you could use the new program. So they expired exactly when your old one did. But you didn't buy anything new. That was part of your subscription when you bought ComicBase. The deal is, as long as that subscription is active, then if we have a new software release that comes out during that year, you get it for free. And so that's what happened with that guy. Is he hadn't actually spent any new extra money in 2024, which is why he eventually had things expire on. But yeah, if you see two expiration dates, they're exactly the same. Typically what that is, unless you were just uncanny with your timing, it typically means that your thing was just in effect when the new release came out and you just got issued the new serial number automatically. It didn't add to your subscription, didn't take away from your subscription. It gave you the new access to the new program version for free. That's what that is. All right. Next question is, how do I tell if I'm signed up for auto renewal? So this is a timely question. And what comes up is, when last year, I believe, was the very first time that we started offering auto renewing subscriptions, because we're starting to eventually, after 30 years in business, we're getting down with this whole new metaphor about, like, wait a minute, what if we made it so just like your TV or cable TV or your gas bill, you could sign up for a service and it just kept going until you told us, no, I don't want it anymore, and we don't need to have to sell you brand new on the thing every year. So we've kind of stepped our toes into the water after 30 years on the whole thing, and we're still not sure how we feel about anything new. I mean, like that. But no, we eventually embraced it. And the deal we offer is basically this: is just like think about Amazon Subscribe and Save. So like I buy a certain kind of espresso, right? It's it's not anything super. It's just one, like, okay, me and my wife can both drink it. We're good. We like this one. Keep it coming. We're going to need a new bag of this about every 60 days or something. So when I buy the thing, they offer me 5% off if I turn on auto renew. Now, if for some reason we're on an anti-coffee kick and we hadn't burned through our bag of espresso in that 60 days, it'll come and tell me, oh, hey, your thing's about to send you more coffee. Did you want this? I can cancel the thing, and I still pocket the 5% I saved. From signing up the first time. Now, why do they give you the 5% the first time? Because they know that, well, overall, they're going to sell you more coffee if it just keeps coming. Whether you didn't have to go think, what I need today is I need coffee, and then you have to go through the whole thing about, like, oh, where did I go for the coffee? Go find the coffee. I mean, if they can make you have that decision made once and just keep it coming to you, on average, they're going to sell you more coffee. That's just the way it works. We eventually have kind of tumbled to the same kind of idea of, on average, if you can say, I collect comic books, I use ComicBase because it's the best thing for tracking my collection, I would like to keeping track of my collection until I say no. So we offer you 5% off if you say, yeah, sure, go ahead and sign me up for next year. Now, I will just tell you, it works exactly the same way that Amazon is Subscribe and Save does, which is to say, you can just take the 5% off, give yourself the discount, and go 3 seconds afterwards and cancel the renewal. I mean, it's nothing to us. We didn't bill you. We weren't going to bill you for another 364 days. But basically, it was worth 5% for us to just have you say, okay, yeah, my default is now that I'm going to renew, as opposed to my default is they're going to have to ask me, and then I'm going to have to decide and see what I want to do. So that was worth 5%. But if you want to go and just auto renew and then immediately cancel like that minute, you can do it. The only thing we are holding over your head when you do that is we actually lock ourselves into a price guarantee during the auto renewal, so that if the price goes up during that year and you said I want to auto renew, you're guaranteed to get the lower price. So if we offered it to you and let's say the price went up by $10 next year, but you locked it in at whatever last year's price was minus 5%, you still get the last year's price minus 5% if you keep the subscription going. If you cancel, especially if you cancel 5 minutes after you bought the first one, then when you renew, then we're going to sell to you whatever the price is. It's it is what it is. But yeah, that's the whole deal on auto renewal. But so if you want to see if your auto renewal is working, all you got to do is go to ComicBase.com, go to My Account, go to Registrations, and you'll see if there's a big green thing that's next to your subscription that says Auto Renews On with a date, and there's a button there marked Cancel. We make it super hard to cancel because there's a huge button marked Cancel, and if you hit it, guess what happens? It cancels. But anyway, if you see the button, that means you're signed up for auto renewal. If you don't see the button, you're not signed up for auto renewal. There isn't a way to buy it and then get set up for auto renewal later. You have to buy the next version and then sign for auto renewal then and there. That seemed too complicated to us, so we didn't do it. So, but that's how that works. So, My Account and then Registrations, and you'll see what is due to renew and what is not. Now, one note on the auto renewing type things. Oh, some people are like, well, I signed up for auto renewal, but then it's not auto renewing. What's going on? The only reason we would ever turn off auto renewal ourselves on the whole thing, one is about a week before it's due to renew, is we're going to send you an email and it says, hey, your thing's about to come up for auto renewal. Make sure that your credit card's good, and we'll actually look at your credit card, and if it was due, had expired or was about to expire, we'll tell you, hey, the credit card you've got on file is no bueno. Make sure you add a different credit card to it, because there's no way we can charge that one. So it's going to just turn off your auto renewing, and then you'll have to do whatever you do. But if you don't respond to that one by the time it's time to renew and you still get a bad card, it doesn't try to bill your card. It just says, yeah, okay, I guess you didn't want it. And it turns off the auto renewal automatically and stops. The other thing that can turn off auto renewal is if for whatever reason, if we try to run your card and your card doesn't run, then we don't, we tell you, hey, we tried to run, it didn't run, but then we immediately turn off auto renewal. So we're not going to keep on bugging you. By the way, if you were around in January where we hadn't worked out some of these very fine points of auto renewing, and we were sending you messages about every day saying, by the way, this thing's about to expire. By the way, we tried to run your card, and that was us not learning the message of, hey, when they don't auto renew, just turn it off. Because we thought we were trying to be helpful, and so we were driving you people around the bend. We apologize for that. We stopped it probably within a week. But anyway, some of these lessons you have to learn by doing it the wrong way first. And so that's what we did. So if you signed up for auto renewal and you don't see it anymore, something happened. Probably your card just went stale. I mean, it's if you're like me, people are issuing you new credit cards half the time you didn't even remember because someone hacked something and something was lost, or your card expired and you just forget. But if the card you had on file was not there, it's a good idea to check that and make sure that your payment information is current. But if we send you a thing saying, hey, your payment information is no good, if you did want auto renewal, just keep going. You got to update your payment before we try charging, because if we try charging and it's no good, then then auto renewal's off. But anyway, that's there. Okay. Department Comics says, don't tell me how to rip you off. Now, I mean, look, I'm a big fan of honest grifters. Like if you guys remember when we did the thing on Bry's Comics with his blind bag thing, we ran a spreadsheet trying to guesstimate what his costs involved were, things like that. I referred to Bry from Bry's Comics as an honest grifter, where he was running. It was a scheme, or you call it a grift. Grift's a little pejorative, but I think on the internet, hopefully we know to kind of like have our tongue in cheek when we say that, and we know that depending on what we're saying, it might be anything from full blown fraud to he had a gimmick. In this case, he had a gimmick. In his case, he was very honest about how the gimmick worked. we have a gimmick. This is how the gimmick works. You can tell that we're profoundly uncomfortable with the idea of auto-subscribing anything because I'm telling you with great depth how the deal works. But I figure if you guys are bothering to waste the time to listen to us try to tell you how to be happier with ComicBase and do things like that, it's up to us. We ought to be giving you all the tips we would give a friend as far as how to get the lowest price on everything. And the way to get the lowest price on anything ComicBase related is there's a couple times a year where we hold a sale. If it's at all convenient for you at the time, grab the sale when you can. We don't do it often. When we do, it's as good as it's ever going to get. Grab the damn sale. If you did not grab the damn sale, all right, so let's say you're one of the 90% of people who need to buy ComicBase at a time that is not at a time when it's on sale. The thing you want to do is certainly, I would say, sign up for auto renewal, unless the idea of someone having your credit card information on file makes you profoundly uncomfortable. If it makes you profoundly uncomfortable, then don't do it. But if you can cope with the idea that someone has an encrypted copy of your credit card information in an encrypted vault someplace, and that a year from now they're going to try to charge your card, if that's okay with you in life, for God's sake, take the 5%. And then the other thing I'd say is let's say you just want to save the 5%. Look, you're not going to offend me really if you just say I'm going to auto renew and then 5 seconds later don't. I mean, it's kind of a dick move. I mean, I'll say it. I mean, that being said, if you really feel that way, then I guess do what you got to do. I mean, what we're trying to do from our end is we're just trying to say, look, it's worth something for us to move the default, and that's all we're doing. We're paying you 5% to change the default, and so if you're comfortable with us paying you 5% in order to change the default, even for 5 minutes, then yeah, sign up for auto renew. Why not? It's 5%, right? But if that makes you uncomfortable, then don't. Please pay full price. We won't be offended by that either. But anyway, but yeah, no, it's. I mean, I try to lay our business's practices right out in front of everyone, because I think what we're really trying to do is we're trying to deliver an overwhelmingly cool product at a price that's great, and and that makes you very happy that you bought from us. So you'll stick with it, be a customer with us until you die of old age, and then hopefully leave us your comics in your will. I'm just saying it would be a heartwarming gesture, just if anyone's thinking that way. But anyway, but in all seriousness, no, it's, I mean, look, we're not here for the one sale. We're here for the all sales. So that's why we want to keep you with us for ages on end. I very much took to heart. Frank Miller, I was giving a talk 1992 when I was at the Capital City, might have been the Diamond, but they were running conferences for all the resellers in the audience at the time, and they had really high top flight talent in there that they were basically hiring these people to come out and speak to comic retailers and give them words of wisdom. And Frank Miller came out and in a probably about a 15-minute speech dropped like the most important wisdom ever that I hope anyone who runs a store takes to heart, which is that when a new customer walks into your store, think of that like $1,000 bill just got blown in by the wind. It is your job to capture that $1,000 bill and encourage it never to leave your store. So, he was saying at the time in the terms of get off your ass. You could have been chatting with a friend about D&D or whatever the hell. Get off. Say hi to the new person. Be kind to them. Ask them if there's a way you can, how can you show them the delights of your store and the many ways that your store will entrance them, and they will want to come back again and again and again. Because if you look at that customer's lifetime spend, if you enchant them, if they keep going back, if that becomes their regular place on, for every Wednesday until they leave the area or things move on, yeah, you're probably going to make, think about like $1,000 off the guy. Whereas if you continue chatting to your buddy about the really awesome D&D game you had going on, a little thing, and you kind of go, when the guy walks in or don't even greet him at all, he might look around for 2 minutes and decide, screw this place, and walk right out again. In which case, you got to think, $1,000 bill just left my store. And that's the way that everyone should be thinking about customers. I think it's not shouldn't be a one-time deal. It ought to be the relationship that spans decades if you can make it, and that makes everyone really, really happy to do business with each other again. So yeah, I mean, if I can save you guys 5% now and again, and I can keep your business, I'm going to save you 5% because I would do it for a friend. And again, it's not like we all hang out. I mean, sometimes we have drinks together, but it's you're not always over at my house for barbecue. But yeah, I mean, we're here. We've been doing the ComicBase for 30. We're pushing our 33rd year, I believe, will be this Christmas. And so, yeah, we want you around for the 34th, the 35th, and the 65th if we're still around. So, yeah, that's the game for us. It's not about how do we take you for the maximal amount this time out. So, that's just the deal. All right. ComicBase asks, will ComicBase pay the shipping cost for 20K books, or does my state have to cover that too? You know what, dude? You want to leave us 20K books? I will personally write the damn check. So anyway, and Ed says, patiently waiting for what is basically going to be the subject of next week's live stream, God willing. So I'm going to be taking that one, and then I think that probably gives me a good chance to get out. Department of Comic asks, if you auto renew during the sale, do you always keep the sale price? That year, yes. So let's say you're buying, say, an archive edition, which is normally like $129 or $139, and it's on sale for $109, right? Something like that. When you renew, it's going to be it's not even $109, it's like $104, because you get 5% off of the sale price typically. But yeah, so, and what it'll do is it'll say, when you look at it, it'll say renews on certain date at, and then you'll see the sale price there. So it's kind of like if you buy it during the sale, it's like getting next year's sale for free. So yeah, do it. Just telling you as a friend. Okay. All right. So that's it for now. PSAs for today. Yes, we should definitely do that. But while he's prepping that, well, I guess we'll go straight into it. Number one, please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. This is, we do this for this. I was telling someone a while back, it's sort of like this is kind of like the fan service version of the whole thing. I think of it as office hours with the customers and everything. But yes, we love it when you guys like and subscribe and tell us that you appreciate being part of the whole thing. Subscribe is something where it definitely helps. And at some point, if we ever get enough subscribers, who knows? I might even earn $1 or $2 on an ad. It could happen. I'm not saying, but it could. Anyway. The ComicBase message boards, don't forget, at forums.comicbase.com, and there is a dedicated thread for live stream topics, as well as other demos. All right, other things I want to talk about. There have been, if you guys are paying attention to, there is some behind-the-scenes stuff that has also been going on. This is a weird one to talk about because in general, I try and, of all the things I talk about, I talk not a whole lot about what's going on hardware-wise or what happens down in the server room for various reasons. But if you guys have noticed, the things have been quite a bit better on that end lately. There's a reason for it. We have done a lot of modernization on some of our infrastructure around here. As a matter of fact, in particular with Atomic Avenue, is about 4 times the computing resources now that we had just a week ago on that one, and it has done miracles for the stability of that system. Expect much more for that. We also might be buffing up the ComicBase.com. ComicBase.com is typically running pretty fast just in general. Atomic Avenue would get very, at times it could just get snowed in under load, and so that was a real pain point for us. But we're very happy with where things are, at right just at the moment. But we might also be doing a buff on ComicBase.com. If so, I expect you guys to notice not at all, because it'll just be like it was before. It works fine, and the site loads fast, and everything's good. It's just that we'll have even more bandwidth to play with because we have some other projects that are going to want some extra bandwidth, and that's a thing that could happen. All right, so I think that's about all I want to say on the infrastructure end at this moment. We're going to have a lot more stuff to talk about next week, and we'll wait for next week on that. At the moment, my throat is kind of going, so I am going to pour myself a beer. You guys, it is a beautiful fall day for most of us. I hope you all have a wonderful one. Go out there, catch some while we still got it, and I will see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.